It would be a life-altering accident, if not fatal. Kieran looked terrified. She had to forget her normal discretion and use her powers. Mina bent the rails. They came out of their straight shape and bent towards Kieran, expanding as if they were like soft jelly and not metal, fitting underneath the wheels of his skateboard, curving to bring him back in line until he was once again balanced. Then they went back into their normal, rigid, straight shape. Kieran stared at the rails and couldn't understand what had just happened. He looked behind him to see where the curve in the rails had come from. The rails were straight. It didn't make sense, and the puzzled expression on his face satisfied Mina. He didn't have a clue about what had just happened. The biker, on the other hand, was a different story. He had a clear view and knew what he had just seen. What he didn't know was how it had happened, and he looked at Kieran, mouth agape, as if Kieran was some sort of a superhero. They reached the bottom of the steps, and Mina had reached the end of her tether. "Enough is enough," she said as she displayed her skateboarding and gymnastic skills by doing an ollie manoeuvre combined with a flip that took her up in the air, over in a somersault, and landed perfectly in front of the bikers. It happened so quickly that the bikers had to swerve to avoid running into her, both coming off their bikes and landing heavily in a nearby bush, watching in shock as their bikes ran into the wall, ruined. Kieran did a similar flip from the rails and came to rest at Mina's side. David limped over to his bike, saw the bent wheels and turned on them. His nostrils flared in fury. Mina sighed with impatience and skated quickly up to him, heading face to face, as in a game of chicken, before she jumped into the air, flipped and landed a kick on the side of his head. Kieran watched as Mina dismounted her board and walked over to him, facing him with her hands on her hips. David straightened up, reeling from the impact, and spat blood on the floor by her feet. He faced her. "You want a piece of me?" he teased. "Does anyone really say that anymore?" Kieran laughed. "I believe it is you who wants a piece of me," she replied icily. "I'd take you as my girlfriend, sure enough," he said. "You should be proud. That's a compliment." "So is this," she said, stepping up to him and punching him on the nose. He reeled back, surprised, and just about remained on his feet. Blood gushed from his nose. Mina smiled and leaned backwards, bringing up her legs and kicking him under the chin as she did so. "You can't even have me in your dreams, you yellow-bellied idiot. That is how far out of your league I am. Forget I'm a girl and come at me with the best you have," she taunted, hands raised, fingers beckoning him towards her. They made a strange sight as they fought each other. It looked rehearsed. Kieran sniggered as Mina toyed with David.